Okay, guys. Well, I found some very interesting connections between Trump and the Rockefellers, and I thought that I would show you just how they are using the esoteric knowledge against us and how they hide everything in plain sight because they have basically taken control of the esoteric knowledge and then they put this esoteric knowledge in plain sight because they know that the majority of humans, majority of mankind, do not have any understanding for the truth or any understanding for the knowledge that has been stolen from them. And so they use this knowledge against us. They mock us because they have this knowledge and they understand the truth about the divine nature within mankind. They understand the truth about the cycles that we exist in. And I have done plenty of videos in regards to this cycle. You can find them on my channel, and I have a playlist in which I have videos in regards to this cycle, which the establishment understand perfectly and understand that we are at the very end of this cycle. We are in the last degree of the Iron Age, and so they use this information against us, and then they basically mock our ignorance. And so we can see this with the Rockefeller Center, and this is how I actually found this connection to Trump. I was looking at the Rockefeller Center because I saw they had some very symbolic and very interesting artworks on display all around the Rockefeller Center. And so I began to look further into the Rockefeller Center, and one of the students of the teachings mentioned to me that there was an alignment between Jared Kushner's building at 666 Fifth Avenue and the Rockefeller Center with Orion's belt. Now, I looked into this further and I found that indeed there was a connection, but it wasn't actually with the Rockefeller Center, it was with the Rockefeller Center Station, and it was also with Trump Tower. And so we can see that this is Orion's belt, and we have Trump Tower here, Jared Kushner's building, 666 Fifth Avenue, and then we have the Rockefeller Center. And so I was looking at all of the artwork that is displayed around the Rockefeller Center, and I saw this artwork at the entrance of the Rockefeller Center, and it is basically very interesting because what it does is show us that the establishment, the puppets that all answer to the Jesuit masters, and the head office of the Jesuit is the Vatican, and Trump and the Rockefellers are Jesuit puppets, and so is Obama, and so is Hillary, and so is every single other politician. And so when we understand esoteric knowledge to the level that's required, we understand that politics is nothing but a stage show, and it's all a script, and they're all actors, and they're all playing for the same team, even though they give the appearance of separation and division. They are actually just two sides of the same coin. And so we can see in this artwork at the entrance of the Rockefeller Center that they have basically assumed power over us as our gods. And they have taken control of the wisdom and knowledge, and they use that knowledge that they have about the divine nature within mankind and about the cycle that we exist in to exert their power over us. And this is exactly what this artwork and this verse, which is from Isaiah 33:6, is basically confirming. It goes on to say, "He will be the sure foundation for your times, a rich store of salvation and wisdom and knowledge. The fear of the Lord is the key to this treasure." And so they are using religion to control the masses through fear, and they are using money to control the masses through their love of materialism and their love of money. And due to the fact that they have possession of all of the esoteric knowledge, they are able to use this knowledge against us. And it is very interesting and also of no coincidence that they have chosen Isaiah 33:6, because they really do love these numbers, these esoteric numbers like 33, 22, and 11. The master numbers are very significant in the esoteric knowledge. Many people equate the number 33 to the Freemasons, and they will assert that 33 is the number of the Freemasons, but it is the number of mankind, because no particular organization, whether that be the Freemasons or whether that be any religious organization, has sole ownership over any esoteric knowledge, including esoteric numbers. All that has happened with the Freemasons is that they use the number 33 in their symbolism. And so this is why people assume that the Freemasons own the number 33 and that the 33 is connected to the Freemasons. But the number 33 goes all the way back to ancient Egypt, and it is connected to the Fibonacci sequence and the golden mean ratio. And I have done videos in regards to this that show that the number 33 has its origins in ancient Egypt. And so when we move outside of our fear of knowledge, because remember, they're even telling us that fear of the Lord is the key to this treasure. And so this can also translate to fear of knowledge. And this is why they have basically used the propaganda of occult knowledge being evil as a way for people to not want to study further into esoteric knowledge, because they believe that the occulted knowledge, and occult simply means hidden and veiled, so veiled knowledge, secret knowledge, is somehow evil. And this is not the truth at all. This is just a way that they basically prevent the masses from wanting to seek further, especially the religious organizations who say that if you read any knowledge or any information outside of the Bible, that is evil, and that all of the information is wicked and evil. Yet you need all of the other information, all of the other esoteric knowledge, and understanding of hermetics and understanding of archetypal symbolism to decode the Bible. If you don't have that understanding, then you're just relying on the clergy to interpret the Bible for you. And that is a very dangerous thing to do, to hand over your intellect to somebody else and put your faith and trust in somebody else rather than in the knowledge. Because divine revelation was not just gifted to white Christians. Divine revelation was given to all mankind. And so each culture expresses that divine revelation in their own way. And this is why we see the scriptures expressed differently in Hinduism and in the Quran and, in the Torah and, the different religions and the different scriptures have all expressed this same divine truth in their own way. But when we look beneath the mythologies and the parables and the allegory, we can see that the same divine truths are present throughout all of the different scriptures and all of the different ancient texts, because we can even look at Hermetics and the ancient texts of Hermes Trismegistus. And we have to actually look at all of this information and then see it as a complete picture, instead of only allowing ourselves to see it in fragments and being afraid to look at other information because, somebody may identify as a Christian and then they feel that it is sinful to look at information outside of the Bible, and so they won't go and read the Quran. And then you have someone who is a Muslim who won't look outside of the Quran and then go and look at the Bible because they think it's sinful to look at the Christian Bible. And so these people remain blind to the truth because their fear of knowledge is what hinders their search of their divine nature, because this is what we're all here for. This is why we were incarnated into physical, biological suits, is so we could have an understanding. We could investigate ourselves and creation in which we exist and extract ourselves out of ignorance, elevate ourselves out of ignorance. And when we look to other people to do that for us, and so that may be religious organisations, or that may be scientific organisations, or that may be government educational organisations, when we look to them to do that for us, then we are actually failing ourselves, because we all have an intellect. We all have a God-gifted intellect. And so we need to have faith in that intellect, faith in ourselves, trust in ourselves to be able to find this information and elevate ourselves out of ignorance. And when we do, when we start to seek answers, we find that there are truths to be found within all of the scriptures and all of the ancient texts. It is important that we understand the significance of esoteric numbers and what they relate to, and archetypal symbolism, because the ancients all spoke in symbolism. So you must have an understanding of symbolism, and you mustn't fear any symbolism, because that is another way that the establishment have put fear into those who wanted to seek out information, is to put fear in certain symbols. So people have a fear of the pentagram. They won't look at the pentagram because they consider the pentagram to be evil, and that is not the case, because the pentagram is just another symbol that has a lot of information encoded within it, and some of that information is positive and some of that information is negative. It's just like numbers. People see the number 666 as an evil number, but if you actually understand the meaning behind the number 6, 6 means physical, 7 means ethereal. And so when you look at the number 666, you're looking at, if we look at the number here, 666, we've got the male and the female on the physical plane. And so 666 just relates to mankind who only see themselves in a physical way, who only understand themselves in a physical way. And this is exactly what the establishment want us to believe. They do not want us to understand that we are spiritual beings. They do not want us to ever have access to that divine nature. They want us to only see ourselves in a physical way, and therefore they have complete control over us, because they control our physical environment. They control us through money. They control us through our understanding of the physical environment with their science departments. And so 666 isn't inherently an evil number unless you're only taking aspects of that number that relate to the physical, because 666 can also relate to our souls incarnated into physical form on the physical plane, so that we can have a physical experience, because we are beings that are not only ethereal but also physical. And so it is not a negative idea to only it is not negative unless we only see ourselves as physical. If we don't acknowledge our ethereal nature, if we don't acknowledge our divine nature, then it is a negative for us, because we are not in possession of all of the information about who we are. So how can we make good decisions? How can we take the correct path if we don't have a full understanding of who we are as spiritual beings? And so this confirms once again that they are just mocking us, and they are basically saying, we have control of all of the wisdom knowledge, so we are going to be your stability of the times, and you are going to look to us for stability, and we will provide you that stability because we are your gods now. This is basically what they are saying with this artwork at the entrance of the Rockefeller Center. Now, I found out some other interesting things about the Rockefeller Center when I was looking at this statue here of Prometheus, and he's situated in the precessional cycle. Now, why would the Rockefeller Center be so focused on Greek mythology about Prometheus, and particularly about the precessional cycle in which Prometheus is at the center of this precessional cycle? Because this is the great year. This is the cycle that they understand that mankind exists in. And this is what they want to basically keep from us, because when we understand that we are in a cycle, we have a very different understanding of who we are and our responsibility as spiritual beings on a physical plane. But they understand perfectly well about the cycle in which we exist. And as I said, they use this information against us, and they basically put all of these esoteric symbols and all of this esoteric knowledge right in plain sight, because they know that most people will not see anything else but a very interesting artwork, you know, a very beautiful artwork that is pleasing to look at, but people do not see the actual knowledge within this symbol and why the Rockefeller Center has this symbol on display. Again, they also have Atlas on display, and Atlas is also relating to the cycles, to the cycle that mankind exists in, from the Golden Age to the Iron Age, and we are currently in the Iron Age. We are in the last degree of the Iron Age. Every degree is 72 years, and this is why it takes all of these different events to play out very, very slowly. And a lot of people actually started asking questions around 2011 and 2012, and then when all of these events didn't happen in a short period of time, they were lured back into the illusion that has been created by those who have taken control of us. They have created this illusion where we think it's important that we have a career, it's important that we have a mortgage, it's important that we have a nice car, you know, it's important that we have all of these very expensive clothes. They are the ones who have created this reality in which we have this perception of ourselves as successful human beings only when it pertains to the materialistic objects that we have accumulated in our life and how much money is in our bank, when in fact it matters more about what is in your soul, what is in your heart, what is motivating you. That is much more important than your career or how much money you have in the bank. So I had a look at some more information connected to the Rockefeller Center. The buildings cover 22 acres. Again, we see this esoteric number of 22. It was actually added to the National Register of Historic Properties on December the 23rd, 1987. That date, when you reduce the 23rd of December 1983, so basically you add all of those numbers together, so 2 plus 3 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 9 plus 8 plus 7, that's how you reduce a date down to get the symbolic esoteric number of that date. That equates to a 33. Again, they are basically hiding all of this knowledge in plain sight. And so it really is just up to people to identify who has control over the knowledge, who has control over mankind, because they do have possession of that knowledge. And by understanding that there is more to our existence than just a material existence, we actually take control back of our own lives. We take control from these people who have positioned themselves to be in power and used all of this esoteric knowledge against us, we actually take our power back, because they may have control of our physical body and our physical experience, but they do not have control and never will have control of our soul or our mind. Once you have knowledge, once you have wisdom, once you have an understanding for your true nature as a divine being, they cannot take that knowledge away from you, and you have control back of yourself. Now, another interesting thing is that the construction of the building and the current Rockefeller Center came about after the opera could not afford to move to the proposed new buildings. Various plans were discussed before the current one was approved in 1932. Construction of the Rockefeller Center started in 1931, and the first buildings opened in 1933. Again, we see 33. So I'll put all this information underneath. I have the actual diagram here of the Trump Tower and the 666 Fifth Avenue and Rockefeller Center Station aligned with Orion's belt on my Pinterest account, so you can look at that there. I also just wanted to quickly show you that we've just entered the year of the dog, and again we have to look at all of this information being connected, and that just because we are looking now at the Chinese mythology and the Chinese esoteric knowledge, that it is somehow different from all of the other esoteric information, when in fact it's not. It's just another expression of esoteric knowledge, of divine knowledge. Now, the Chinese, as we know, have a calendar in which they feature different animals. Well, this year is the year of the dog. Now, the story goes on that the dog is the 11th of all the zodiac animals. According to one myth, the Jade Emperor said that the order would be decided by the order in which they arrived to his party. Monkey, rooster, dog were in another country helping a god defeat evil spirits after they set off to the party together. Because they arrived at the same time, the Jade Emperor went by the order they met the god in the other country. Thus, the dog became the 11th. Now, I'm actually a monkey, but we're in the year of the dog, and the dog is the 11th animal of the zodiac, and 2018 is an 11 year. I've actually shown this in another video that I did do in regards to some of the significant celestial events we are having in 2018. Here's the video here. You will find it on my channel. And in that video, I basically went on to show that we are in the year 2018, which is an 11 year. We just had a very, very rare super blood blue moon eclipse on the 31st of January. And that eclipse was 11 degrees in Leo, and the sun opposed the moon at 11 degrees. And as I said, 2018 is an 11 year. And so again, we see 11 is connected to not only the year in which we are in the Western world, but also in the Eastern world. We can see that the animal in the Chinese zodiac is connected to 11. Now, some of the other interesting things about the year of the dog that I thought you might find quite significant is that Hitler became the Führer on August the 2nd, 1934, and that was the year of the dog. And so even though Hitler came to leadership before 1934, 1934 was the year that he took power, complete power over Germany. Now, what is also interesting is that Trump was born in 1946, which was also the year of the dog. So I just thought that I would also give you that information because I do find it quite interesting, and it does tie into all of the other information in regarding the esoteric numbers, the esoteric knowledge, the connection that Trump Tower and Jared Kushner's 666 building has with the Rockefeller. It shows that basically they are all puppets They're all answering to the same Jesuit masters who have all of the knowledge, who stole all of the knowledge from mankind and have it locked up under the Vatican in their library. And they are using this knowledge against us. And all of these people in power now, they are in power because they have connections through family bloodlines, or basically just because they have positioned themselves and sold their souls to the Vatican, who could be considered basically minions of the devil. So you can see them as the devil's handyman, really. This is who Trump and Rockefeller and Jared Kushner are. Now, when I say devil, I'm not actually talking about a being, a demon. I'm talking about the devil and Satan relating to the correct esoteric symbolism, which is basically just showing a process in which mankind become trapped in materialism. The devil is basically just the archetypal symbolism for when mankind are at the lower ages of the cycle, and they have forgotten their divine nature, they have forgotten their spiritual self, and they are trapped in materialism. This is why the pentagram, when it is inverted, is also relating to this evil symbol, apparently, or the devil, when in fact it is just again showing man trapped in materialism. His head is down the bottom at the earth because he is trapped in the physical. His head is no longer at the top towards heaven, towards Kether, because he no longer has an understanding of himself as a spiritual being, as a divine being, because every human has a part of the creator within them. There is divinity within different degrees in every human. Those who have a higher degree of a divine connection to the creator can be seen as the gods, you know, the lesser gods, not God. I mean, a lot of people get this confused in modern Christianity, that Jesus is God, whereas Jesus is the Son of God. The Bible is very clear about that. And so Jesus is a man who has a higher degree of divine nature because he was created closer to the divine source. And this is also where we see the other symbols in the Olympians, in the tribes of Israel, in the Aryans, in the Atlanteans, in all of the gods and goddesses shown in the Hindu mythology and the Egyptian mythology. This is showing mankind, the race within mankind, who are created closer to source, and therefore they have a higher degree of divinity. But all mankind have divinity within them, just to not the same degree as those who were created closer to source. And so this is what the establishment, this is what the puppets of the establishment, the Antichrist I call them, because they are against the Christ within mankind, because the Christ is that divinity that we all have within us. And they are against that divinity, which is why I call them the Antichrist, why they are the Antichrist. And so this is what the Antichrist have taken from us, this knowledge about who we are and the truth about the cycle we exist in and the truth about who we are as divine beings, as spiritual beings. And so we need to take back this power. We need to take back this understanding of who we are, because this is the only way we will defeat them. We cannot defeat them on the physical anymore. They have far too much power over us on the physical plane. And so the only way we can defeat them is to have an understanding of our true nature, of who we are. And then they cannot take that from us. Well, I'll leave this here. And as I said, I will put all of the different articles underneath, and you can check that out for yourself. And as always, peace out.